Have you bought your first house already? Maybe even your second or your third? Well, in this video, I'm gonna give you 10 tips that will change the way you think about buying real estate. Stick around. Okay, so right before we get started in this video, I do want to say that this is meant for residential buying and not necessarily investment buying. While you can use these tips for investment buying, I'm going to link a video down in the comments below that specifically talk about how to buy your very first investment property. So before we get started, real quick, in the comments down below, I want you all to tell me what were some of the biggest questions that you all had when buying your first home. Or for those of you who have not bought your first home, tell me what are the biggest questions that you have right now about buying your first home. Maybe I'll answer them in this video. If not, I will definitely answer them and get back to you. All right, so let's get started with the very first tip that is so crucial. I say this in so many of my videos, but I think it is so important. Please have a good real estate agent. Having that good agent is gonna help you know the area so much better. A good real estate agent is going to have connections with title companies, with lenders, with other real estate agents. You want an agent that has a good rapport. Check out Zillow. That's a great place to find reviews. I'm sure you could Google that company, see those agents, see how they do, check their website, but have a good agent. Having a good agent when buying your first, second, third, however many homes is so important. All right. Tip number 2, take the time to search for a home. Even if you don't think this is going to be your forever home, or if it is your forever home, take the time to really look and do the research. Taking the time to look at other homes will give you just a good kind of sense of the city, different areas, different neighborhoods, especially if you're moving from out of state. Really important, just kind of know the area. Again, working with a good agent, they'll really help you with this. But take the time, don't just find one home, say, oh, this is it, I'm done. No, take the time to really research, talk to your agent, talk to other people, maybe talk to people who have lived there before. If the neighbors don't mind, talk to them. You don't want to just buy a house just to buy it. You hear me say that a lot too. Don't buy just to buy. Tip number 3, ask your lender about different financing options. A lot of times lenders are going to be very competitive with each other, whether they give you different fee structures or they remove certain fees or they make you pay less for certain fees. Lenders are going to be very competitive. Sometimes they offer rates that are cheaper. Just ask. It does not hurt to ask, hey, what do you have that another lender does not have? Something that a lender might have that another lender doesn't. They might be offering special closing cost deals. I know out here in Louisiana, a lot of times when working with new homes, I haven't seen it recently, but they were at one point having, extra $1,000 in closing costs towards firefighters, first responders, nurses, teachers. So ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. If they're advertising it, great. If they're not, just ask. That is the worst thing that you could do is never ask. All right. Tip number 4. This is a huge one. Please have a plan. Don't go into a house without having a good plan. At least have a general idea of the square footage, bedroom, bathroom count that you want. Do you want land? Do you not want land? Do you want a house? Do you want an apartment? Do you want a townhome or a condo? Don't just call an agent and say, hey, I want a house. That doesn't help us at all. We have no idea what you want. It takes time. We have to learn you. We have to learn your likes, your dislikes. So please, at least have a plan. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be set in stone, but just have a plan. Another thing you can really do that'll help your agent out a ton, talk to them, communicate, say, hey, I like this in this house, but I don't like this. If you have a good agent, they'll be able to collect all that information mentally or write it down and hopefully be able to start pointing you in the direction of the right house for you. All right, tip number 5. Don't set the bar too high for yourself. Don't go into it having an expectation that you are gonna get this $1 million home if you don't make $1 million home salary. If you're only making $70,000, $80,000 a year, don't expect that you're gonna get into a $2 million house. It's probably not gonna happen. Most people don't even get their dream home until maybe their second, third, or even fourth home. So if it's your very first home, don't expect it to be over the top or lavish. But hey, if you can get it, that's awesome. But don't expect it on your first time around. Something that I always like to say is you buy once and buy right. And I think that's so true, even if you plan on selling your house. If you plan on buying a home, buy it right. Get the right home, the right location. Make sure you've talked to as many lenders as you can. Get the proper agent. Please get the proper agent to vet out anything that could be wrong with this house. Even if you plan on selling it in the future and it's not your like forever home, just do your research. Please do your research. Please do your research. Tip number 6. This kind of goes hand in hand with tip number 5, but do your due diligence once you get into contract. I cannot ever emphasize this part enough. And yes, I'm talking to you, those agents who always say you don't need to always get a home inspection. We can forego the home inspection to make sure you can buy this house. No, never, ever buy a house without getting a home inspection. I know there's gonna be people out there that say it's okay, it's not a problem. No, never do it. There's so many things that could be wrong with that house. There are electrical issues, plumbing issues. If the house is old enough, there could be lead paint, asbestos, who knows what could be in the house. Don't buy a house without getting inspected. The biggest thing that you want to do is you just want to know about the house that you're buying. If it has a lot of problems, no problem. Maybe you can get it at a really good discount and it'll be worthwhile to fix it and you'll still have equity and you won't lose money. But if you don't do that due diligence and you have no idea that it's going to cost $50,000 to repair something in 3 months, that could cause you a world of trouble. Tip number 7. Here's a good one. Do not be afraid to ask questions. This one is going to definitely tie into the last tip because doing your due diligence is important, but you also have to ask questions. There's an old saying that says the only dumb question is the one that was never asked. So please ask questions. Don't be afraid to talk to your agent, talk to the lenders and say, hey, what about this? I've never heard about that. Oh, can you explain this? If you have a good agent, a good lender, they'll be more than willing to work with you. So now y'all starting to see why tip number 1 was so important. Having a good agent, it helps with every other tip. It makes the whole process so easy. Tip number 8, huge tip. Once you're in contract already, you've already, signed the contract, you're working towards closing. Do not, I repeat, do not mess with your credit. Don't go out and finance furniture. I've seen that happen. Do not go out, buy a new car. Don't go out and try to buy another house. Just keep your credit the same because you've been pre-approved. That means the lender likes where you're at. You're getting close to underwriting or you've gone through underwriting. Whatever the case is, you're good. Just coast on through. As soon as you sign those papers, you can go finance all your furniture. You can buy a new car, whatever you want to do. Just don't do it before you sign those papers and get those keys. It's not to say that if you do any of these things, you can't still get the house, but lenders hate it. Credit companies, they love to send you new credit card offers all the time, but lenders do not want to see you mess with your credit once you're pre-approved. It makes their job so much more difficult and you may not be approved for the same amount that you were. Tip number 9, very important, but can be very hard to do. Do not be afraid to walk away from a bad deal. If it doesn't feel right, if there's too many things going on with the house, if there's so many things wrong, if it's just not working out, the seller's not willing to work with you, whatever the case is, don't be afraid to just walk away. Even if you're a few days before closing and something major happens and you can legally walk away, don't be afraid to walk away. You would rather walk away, save yourself headaches, money, all kinds of things, rather than be stuck knowing you could have walked away. A couple of examples of things that could happen. We talked about the home inspections. Home inspection comes back and it's just really, really bad. Not something you want to deal with. Walk away. the appraisal comes back and it's really, really, really low, walk away. You thought it was worth something, but obviously it's not. You can walk away. Doesn't hurt. Tip number 10, the final tip. Very good tip, very important. I've learned this kind of over my life too as well. Don't be stuck on what the house currently looks like. Just because the house may have yellow paint, pink 1970s tile, horrible, horrible design, maybe there's a random wall in the way that makes it feel cramped. Don't be afraid to say, you know what, I'll buy this house. I have some money, I can renovate it. Let's hire somebody, we can get it at a good deal. I can change the way this house looks and it'll look stunning once I'm done with it. The biggest thing to remember is that once you buy that house is yours. You can pretty much do anything you want to it as long as it's not against code, as long as it doesn't go against your HOA. If you have one, that house can grow with you and your family over time. It doesn't have to be immediate. It doesn't have to be perfect right away. Unless you're building a custom home from the ground up, it can grow with you. Don't be afraid of an ugly paint color. It can be changed. Don't be afraid of ugly faucets. They can be changed. Little things like that. Don't let that scare you away, especially if you can get the house at a great price. So I hope everyone enjoyed these tips. I hope you got a lot out of it. Please let me know down below, what was your favorite tip? What's something that's really gonna help you out? Let me know what I could do better. And in the meantime, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see y'all in the next video.